In this video, I'm going to be showing you that music theory doesn't have to be hard as people make it look, especially for beginners and intermediate violinists. I'm going to be showing you exactly what you need to know and the simple way without stress. So if you would be interested in that, make sure to watch this video all the way to the end so you do not miss any piece of it. Let's get straight into it. Welcome back to Stokes Violin Academy. I'm Samuel. I'm very excited to have you here. If this is your first time here, I give beginners and intermediate violinists like you the lessons, tips, and violin tutorials, music theory lessons like this one. You need to take your playing to that next level. So if you would be interested in that, this is the time to hit that subscribe button. Turn on the notification bell just beside it so you do not miss videos like this. You done that? Awesome. Let's get straight into this one. Why music theory? Why do we need to know music theory, right? So as musicians, right, violinists, you're a musician, you need to understand how to communicate with other musicians. So see this as language too. We have spoken language and we have the written form, just like in music. We have played music, you can have the written form. Right, so you need to understand when the music is written, you need to understand how to communicate with other musicians as well. And without music theory, that's going to be very difficult. So that being said, we're going to go straight into it. Okay, so like mentioned in the very beginning, we're going to treat this as though it's your very first day hearing about music theory. So the first thing you need to know is what we call the staff, also called music staff. Right, so staff is 5 lines and 4 spaces, right? Upon which you're going to be writing music symbols and characters to make music. That's how I want you to understand, right? So just 5 lines and 4 spaces. So it's like the backbone and the framework of everything where we're going to be writing our stuff on to make music. And we label it from the bottom. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Same thing with the spaces. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 5 lines and 4 spaces. If you forget that, think about your fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 fingers, 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is your staff. The next thing I would need you to know is music alphabet. Right? We have music alphabet. Good. So the music alphabets are the same thing as your English alphabet. Starts from A, but this one stops at G. Right? So A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. If you want to start over, if you want to continue, it starts over. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, and so on, and just circles around. So these are your music alphabet, right? First thing, staff. The next thing, the music alphabet. The first 7 letters of your English alphabet. Let's go to the next one. The next thing you need to know is what we call the clef, right? You might have seen this sign before. Right, it's a very common music sign. This is actually what we call a clef. So what's a clef? And this is how I want you to think about it. So a clef is a sign we draw on the staff, the 5 lines and 4 spaces we talked about, that indicates the pitch of a note. So it tells us how high or how low a note should be. So the key word is pitch. Right, so it's a clef is a sign we draw on the staff that indicates the pitch of a note. 2 main types of clef we have. We have the treble clef, and then we have the bass clef. So this is actually the treble clef. The one you've seen for some time now, that's actually treble clef. Then the bass clef looks like this with the column. But we're going to be dealing more with the treble clef because the violin is a treble clef instrument. It's a high instrument, and the treble clef deals with the higher pitches, while the bass clef deal with lower pitches. That's how I want you to understand now. Right. So clef indicates the pitch of a note. It tells us how high or how low a note or set of notes should be. Right? 2 main types. We have the treble clef and we have the bass clef. See the treble clef to be the high clef and the bass clef to be the low clef. Very good. Now we're going to put a clef on the staff and then we'll move on from there. If you've not subscribed, this is the best time for you to do that because you do not want to miss contents like this. Hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on the notification so you're notified whenever a video from this channel comes up and you do not miss any of this good stuff. You've done that yet? I'm going to give you a second. Done that? Awesome. Let's get back into the video. Good. So here we have our staff again, 5 lines and 4 spaces where we're going to be drawing or writing music signs and symbols like we mentioned, right? So the treble clef is drawn around the 2nd line of the staff. Right. Before we go any further, treble clef is also called G clef, while bass clef is also called F clef. Good. So treble clef is drawn around the 2nd line of the staff. Good. This is how you draw a treble clef. Draw a half circle first. Good. Take it to the other side. Good. Turn it around, take it up, and then you bring it down. That's how I want to practice it if you've never drawn a treble clef before. Good. So, treble clef is drawn on what line of the staff? Second line of the staff. Don't miss that. So, that's going to make the second line of the staff line G. Right, because it's also called G clef. Good. So once we put a clef on a staff, the staff is going to take the name of the clef. So this whole thing is going to be called the treble staff now. Alright, let's just clean this off. Good. So this is now the treble staff. Good. And just like we have in our alphabet, we can go up the alphabet or down the alphabet. Let's put the alphabet here again. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and so on. So we're going to label these lines and spaces accordingly, right? So after G, we have the space which is going to be A. So if we're going up, which is up in pitch, we're going right of the alphabet. If we're going down, we're going left of the alphabet. You understand? Good. So after G, we have A. What do you think this line would be? B, and this space would be C. This would be D, and so on. What if we're going that way? This would be F. This would be E, this would be D. What if we want to go further? What do you think we should do? Right? We're going to add what we call ledger lines. Right? So ledger lines, let's put that here. Ledger lines. So ledger lines are short lines. They look like hyphen drawn either above or below the staff to expand it. So just these 5 lines and 4 spaces are not going to be enough for the music we need. So we put ledger lines, the short lines below or above the staff to expand it, and they're going to act as though they're lines of the staff as well. You got it? Good. So this means we can keep going. So this becomes C, this becomes B, this becomes A, this becomes G, and so on. Just 1 second. If this video is helping you so far, I would like to know, right? So let me know in the comment section. Give me a thumbs up, because it's very important to know that persons on the other end are benefiting from this and to know what type of videos to make for you. So give me a thumbs up. You could just let me know how you feel about it in the comment section. That would be very, very appreciated. Let's get back into it. Very good, right? So let's summarize what we've done so far. Staff, your 5 fingers and 4 spaces in between them. And then we have clef, the sign that indicates the pitch of a note or pitch of set of notes, right? Treble clef drawn on the second line, which makes that line line G. And from that line, we can get every other lines and spaces of the staff. This is where we got the every good boy deserves food, a very popular mnemonic in music to remember the lines of the treble staff and the spaces F, A, C, and E, phase. Good. So if you understand this, just 1 more for this video, for this introductory one, and then we're going to continue in the next one. So like I mentioned to you, this is going to be a series, right? So let's do the last section. Good. So now that you understand what we have here, this is a treble staff, and we know that the second line of the staff is line what? Line G, from what we've done so far. Now we're going to connect this to the violin. We know we have 4 strings on the violin. Let's say these are 4 strings on the violin. E, A, D, and G. Right. Line G. After line G, the space above it is going to be A. I want you to understand that this A is the same thing as your A string on the violin. If we keep going, this is B, C, D, and this is E. This is our E string on the violin. Take note of that. Second space is A. Last space of the staff is E. If we go down, we're going to have F. We're going to have E. The space right under the staff, that's our string D. If we keep going down, this will be C, B, this will be A, and this will be G. That's our string G. So these are the 4 spaces we have on the violin, the 4 strings we have on the violin. So if we see anything in this space, that's the E string. We see anything on this space, that's the A string. Anything on this space, D. And anything on this space, you're going to see below 2 ledger lines, that's the G. Good, so that's the first thing I want you to understand in this part of it. Then the next thing and the last thing we're going to do today is what we call time values. Let's do that. Right, so this is the last part we're going to do today. We call this time values. What does that mean? So in music, if we wanted to play 4 counts, if we wanted to play 2 counts, if you wanted to play 3 counts, there should be ways to represent that. Right, so we're going to have the name on this side, the symbol on this side, the number of counts here, which is 4, 2, 1. right? And the rest here, right? So let's explain rest. So in the music, if you want you to rest, which means not play for 4 counts, there's a way to represent that and so on. So let's get into this chart right here. So the name, this is called whole note, and this is the symbol. So what it looks like, and this means 4 counts, play for 4 counts. So that's gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say we're to play that on the violin, the A string, we're gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's a whole note right there. Half note, play for 2 counts. So 1, 2, 1, 2. And then quarter note, 1 count, just 1. 8th note, half count, right? Ta-ta, right? Which is shorter than quarter note. Good. So these are time values and this represent time. I want you to know them. These other names in the bracket, these are the English name, British. So whole notes also called semi-breve, half note minim, quarter note crochet, 8th note also called quaver. And these are the rest. The main difference between the whole note rest and half note rest is that whole note rest is right under the line, usually under the 4th line, while half note rest is on the 3rd line, right? On the line, which is usually the 3rd line. Quarter note rest right there looks a little bit different when it's in the book, but you're going to recognize it. And then we have our 8th note rest. So last part for today, we're going to do a quick demonstration on how this will be applied. I know this video has been a long one, but it's very important to understand these essentials. Let's do that. If you've not subscribed, this is the best time for you to do that because you do not want to miss content like this. Hit that subscribe button right now, turn on the notification so you're notified whenever a video from this channel comes up and you do not miss any of this good stuff. You've done that yet? I'm gonna give you a second. Done that? Awesome. Let's get back into the video. Good. So here's the very last part for today. We're gonna apply everything we've learned so far. So we know the 5 lines and 4 spaces, that's our staff. We know that's a treble clef, also called a G clef, and that makes the 2nd line line G. And after that G, like we talked about, this space right above G, that's our A, which is the same thing as the A string that we've talked about. I also want you to know that the staff can be divided by vertical lines into equal sections, and we call these lines bar lines. Bar lines. And the spaces between each of these sections we call bars or measures. Bars or measures. So this is a bar, also called a measure. Good. So that's G, that's A, which is the same thing as our A string. So if we put this here, that's a whole note. So that means we're going to play 4 counts on what string? On the A string, because that whole note is in space A. Okay, let's try another one. Still in space A. 2 half note. This means we're going to play 2 counts. Half note, when you have notes that has head and stem, is where the head of the note is that matters, right? So in this case, we're going to play 2 counts on the A, and then another 2 counts on the A. Very good. So you've started reading music already using what we've done so far. Let's do another one, right? Let's say we had one more measure here. Right. And we said the space right under the staff is our D, so that's G, F, E, and D from what we've learned so far. So if we have this here, 2 quarter notes and a half note on D. So these are going to be played on string D. So D, D, and then D for 2 counts. So that's how this goes. Right, in the next class, we're going to show you how other fingers, for example, fingers on the violin are going to come in. These are your strings on the violin, E, A, D, and G. I want you to know where the open strings are here first, and then the time values, because in the next class, we're going to put in the fingers and show you more about this. So if you've not subscribed, you need to be subscribed to this channel, so hit that subscribe button so you know when the next video comes up, right? You want to bookmark this page if you have to, so you do not miss that as well. Good. So that's it for this one. Go revise this stuff, go practice, and I'll see you here in the next video of this series. You do not want to miss it. See you in the next one.